Alrighty then, y'all. Last little video of the day, converting from standard form to intercept form. Alright, last one. We've done just about everything else except this way. Now, this way may bring up some, you may have some PTSD moments with this. Talking about how we convert from standard to intercept. Now, intercept, there's another word for intercept form, and it's called factored form. And again, like I said, a lot of us still have trouble with factoring. That's okay. Let's work through it though. Let's do an example, alright? All you really have to do to convert between these forms is to literally factor, okay? Now, most of those we'll be dealing with are trinomials. I'll give you one or two that maybe there'll be binomials that are going to have to maybe recall on how to do that. So we're going to probably work on just 5 examples, alright? So number 1, let's start off with an easy one. Y equals x squared plus 9x plus 8. Again, all you have to do is factor this, okay? Now, if you remember how we do these, well, it's a trinomial, right? And you can do the star for anything, okay? You can do the star for anything that has 3 terms, all right? But I'm going to do it the old-fashioned way. In fact, I'm gonna do like basically one example where you can do one different type of factoring each time, okay? So for these, well, first of all, what's in front of you, x squared or 1, right? So whenever you have something like that, you can always just basically look at the back number and ask yourself, what multiplies to give me 8? And then the middle number, that also adds to give me 9. Well, you got, again, if you're having trouble figuring out what multiplies to get you 8, you can just list them all out. 4 and 2, 8 and 1, that's it, right? Which of those adds to get me 9? 8 and 1 add to get me 9, right? So that's what I'm going to write. I'm going to write x plus 8, x plus 1, because 8 times 1 gives me 8, and 8 plus 1 gives me 9. That's how I do all these. I'm just going to factor all these. That's really all we're doing. This is standard form. This is intercept form. That's all we got to do for these is just factor, okay? Now, if they ask you to find the x-intercepts of these, we've already done that. You just factor it out and then set each set of parentheses equal to 0 and solve from there, right? We've already done that. So I'm just making sure you know how to convert between the forms. Again, some of us are pretty good at factoring. Some of us still need to work at it. That's all good, all right? Let's do another one. This one, though, you're going to have to do a GCF first, okay? So let's kind of recap on how we do that. Let's do this one. Y equals 2x squared plus 20x plus 18. All right. Well, for this one, you should hopefully already see the fact that, well, they're all divisible by 2, right? I mean, they're all even numbers. So that's what we're going to pull out of that. Now, when I say pull out, I mean literally. It's like we're pulling out a 2 from everything. Now, you can write, how we wrote, 2, like, I'm just going to write this off the side. You do not have to write this. 2 times x, and then plus, and you can break down 20 into, what, 2 times 5, blah, 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 so on and so forth. You don't have to do that every time. If it helps you to see that there's a 2 in common, by all means, do it. Go for it. But another way to do it is just to literally look and say, well, they're all even, so I can obviously take 2 out of them all. Now, and the way you do it, I usually just divide everything by 2. So if I take out a 2 from this, well, that's just going to end up being x squared. You can put 1x squared, don't have to. And then if I take a 2 out of 20, what's 20 divided by 2? 10. Don't forget your x. And 18 divided by 2, that's a 9. And again, if you're not sure if you did that right, you can always just do what? Well, when I see parentheses, I should be thinking what D word, distribute. And I should always think that I can distribute that back in, and hopefully I get the same thing I got up there, okay? That's a way to check your work. Distribute and check. Anyway, so we're not done factoring, though, because we can still see we have a trinomial in here. Again, we can ask ourselves, what multiplies to get us 9, but adds to get us 10? Again, if you want to, list out the numbers that multiply to get me 9 on the side. Well, we got 3 and 3, and 9 and 1. Well, which of those adds to give me 10? 9 and 1. So the way I write that, y equals 2. X plus 9, because we said it was a positive 9, right? And x plus 1. That's my factored form. Done. That's it, okay? You don't have to set it equal to 0 and solve. That's all I want you to do is convert, okay? Let's do another one. Another one where you had to factor something out at the beginning. This time, not just a number. This time you're going to have to factor out a sign, okay? Let's do this one. Y equals negative x squared minus 4x plus 5, all right? All right, well, notice, I think I've said this. I don't know how many of you heard me when I said it. I think I've tried to repeat it sometimes. If I ever see a negative outside at the very beginning in front of my x squared, I usually like to pull that out, meaning that I like to pull out a negative out front, or if you want to put like a little negative 1 there, so I'm kind of like pulling out a negative 1. It's like I'm dividing everything by negative 1, or just literally put a negative outside and switch all them signs you see. So that was a negative x squared. It's going to turn into a positive x squared. It's negative 4x. Turn to a positive 4x, and lastly, this positive 5 switches signs to a negative 5, right? Again, like I said, if you want to check to make sure you did it right, go back and distribute in and see, because you should always get back to here. All right, same thing as before. What multiplies to get us 5, but also, negative 5, but adds to get us a 4. Now, when you see the negatives, I usually like to kind of write down every possibility. So, like, for example, I may write, 5 and negative 1. -1 and -5 and 1. Those are our only two options we have because this is, you know, the number's prime. We don't have to multiply by very many things. I just like to list them both out because that way you can know. That way you can kind of think a little bit deeper about this. Now, how can I get 4? Well, if I do -5 plus 1, that's going to give me -4. That's not going to work. But if I do 5 minus 1, that's going to give me that +4 in the middle. So, let's rewrite this thing. Leave that negative out front. Again, you can put a little -1 there if you want to keep track of it, but I'm just putting negative because that's all I need. We have 2 sets of parentheses. You set a +5, right? So x plus 5 is going to go in the first set. And then on the second set of parentheses, you set a -1, x minus 1. Again, that's intercept form. All we're doing is factoring. That one I just had to make sure I factored out that negative at the very beginning, okay? Let's move on to number 4. Again, by all means, please pause the video if you need to catch up, all right? Let's see, where's my pen at? Right, there we go. All right, number 4. Let me do one I wrote down just a minute ago. And this one's going to be a bit of a different one, and there's not very many examples on your work like this, but I want to give you one just to have. Y equals x squared minus 49. Now, this isn't a trinomial like we saw. There's actually a binomial. And if you remember how to do these are the ones where you have like one set of parentheses as a plus and the other as a minus. 49 is a perfect square, right? What makes 49 a perfect square? 7, 7. 7 times 7 gives me 49. So really, to factor this out, I just have x plus 7 and x minus 7. And I'm not going to really stress about this one because I don't think it comes up very often. But if you did want to do the, the star method with this, you can by all means rewrite this as y equals x squared plus, well, I don't have a b in there, plus 0x minus 49. So that way you could do your star method like that. I am going to show the next problem with star method, so that may help a little bit with that. But again, like I said, I'm not going to stress about this one. Just make sure you know if you see like a perfect square binomial like this, that you can always factor them out like this. You know, x plus whatever the square root of that number is, that 49 is, which was 7. Square root of 49 is 7, x plus that number, x minus that number. Again, not going to stress it out too much. Just wanted to show an example of how you would factor something like that. All right, flip the paper over. 5th and final example. This one's going to use star method, okay? I'll tell you that much. This one is going to use star method. I'm going to do, yeah, that's the one I want to do. 6x squared, y equals 6x squared minus 7x minus 3. Okay, now this one, if there's nothing to take out of all these numbers, you can't factor any number out of 6, 7, and 3 and it makes it nicer looking, okay? So let's do like we always do, just like we've always been doing. Label our A, B, and C, okay? Now, I'm going to do 2 ways. First way I'm going to do is the guess and check way, okay? If you prefer one way over the other, use it. I'm going to do guess and check first, and then I'll do star over here off to the side in just a second, all right? So, guess and check. What you have to do is you have to list your numbers that multiply to get you this back C, and then also add, you have to list the numbers that multiply to get you A, and also multiply to get you C. So what's the numbers that multiply to get me 3? 3 and 1, now but this is a -3, right? So -3 and 1, or 3 and -1, they all multiply to give me that C, right? How about A? What numbers multiply to get me 6? Well, I got 6 and 1, obviously. What else? 2 and 3, 3 and 2, however you want to write that. Okay, so now what we're going to do is whatever's in front, I always say is going to go in front in the parentheses, in the front slot. So I'm going to go ahead and make my 2 sets of parentheses. Here's where the guessing and checking comes in, okay? So I'm going to do one that's intentionally wrong just to show you how you would guess and check. 6x, let's say I use this first set, 6x and a 1x, okay? Let's say I just chose that because that's the first thing I wrote down. I just chose that. I want to try it. And then I'm going to try it with one of these pairs, all right? So let's say I put -3 there and a +1 there. Now, to actually check to see if this answer is right, if this is actually the true factored form of this, you're going to have to distribute and combine like terms. Let's do it to see. So, let's distribute and combine like terms. Let's do it. So, for this one, I'll have 6x times 1x. That's 6x squared. Let me scroll up a bit so you can see what I'm doing. And then 6x times a +1, that's a positive 6x. And let's do this bottom set of arrows. -3 times 1x is -3x. -3 times 1 is -3. Okay, what do we do with these? We always combine like what? Like terms, right? I forgot my y equals up here. My bad. My bad. So let's combine like terms. If I have 6 x's, I'll take away 3. How many x's I have left over? I have 3 x's left over. Okay? Let's rewrite this whole thing. -3. Alright, so we have 6x squared plus 3x minus 3. Now, we gotta check. Is this the same thing as what we started with? Let's look back. No, not even close. So, this choice right here, you chose wrong here. So, you're gonna have to go back and try another one. I'm going to go ahead and tell you what the right one is so you can see it and we can prove it. It'll be 3x plus 1 and 2x minus 3. All right? 3x plus 1 and 2x minus 3. I'll go ahead and tell you that is the right choice. Now, that's the only problem with guess and check is the fact that it does take a while, okay? I'm going to prove to you that's the right choice by distributing, okay? So, 3x times 2x is going to be 6x squared. 3 times negative 3, that's negative 9x. Don't forget your x there. Then we do a bottom half of arrows. 1 times 2x, that's a positive 2x. Positive 1 times negative 3, that's a negative 3. What are we going to do? Combine like terms, right? Right in the middle. Okay. Last step, and you're going to see, well, negative 9x plus 2x is going to be negative 7x minus 3. That is what I started with. Now, this isn't the factored form. This is just me checking my answer by distributing, okay? So that if I get whatever I started with, I know I did it right, okay? This is your answer, because this is the intercept form. This is how it looks factored, okay? Now, if you don't like this guess and check way, that's what this way is, guess and check, all right? Let me show you star with it, okay? Let's do that. So let's do our star. I'm gonna draw my star. Boom. Okay, up top is A times C, and the bottom is B. And then on the sides is whatever my A is. Now let's look back at our equation for just a split second. Our A was 6, and our C was 3, it's negative 3 that is, okay? So on the top of here, I'm gonna put 6 times negative 3, all right? And then our B is gonna go on the bottom, which is negative 7, so I'm gonna put that straight up on the bottom. Negative 7 is gonna go on the bottom. And y'all tell me what 6 times negative 3 is? That's gonna be negative 18. All right, I'm gonna go and circle my B down there. All right, what goes on either of these ends is whatever your A was. Your A was 6, and along with whatever variable you have, okay? So we're gonna have 6x on both of these sides. Now, what we're gonna do with this is you're gonna ask yourself, what's some numbers that multiply to get me negative 18, but also add to get me negative 7, all right? So again, if you like to list out this on the side, by all means, do it. So, some numbers that multiply to get you 18, negative 18, do negative 18 and 1, or 18 and negative 1. I'm just gonna list everything out so you can see, okay? If it pops out to you, go ahead and put it in there. But I'm gonna list out everything so you can see it. You can do negative 9 and 2, 9 and negative 2, do 6 and, negative 6 and 3. Or you could also do, 6 and negative 3. I believe that's everything. So we've got a lot of choices here. But we're looking for only the one that could somehow, in some way, get negative 7. 18 and 1, no. Neither of those are gonna work, okay? How about 6 and 3? No, if I do negative 6 plus 3, that's gonna be a negative 3, no. And if I do 6 minus 3, that's also negative 3, so no, none of these work. So let's try one of these two. If I do 9 minus 2, that's a positive 7, but I want a negative 7, right? But if I do negative 9 and 2, combine those together, that gives me a negative 7. Boom, we've got our choice. Now, I'm gonna put those right here and right here. Now, your answer, you're not ready yet for your answer. All you're gonna do is actually simplify these, quote unquote fractions down, okay? 6 over 2, if you type that in the calculator, remember how to do that? You just type 6 divided by 2, hit enter, and then hit math and enter 2 times, I believe. And to simplify this fraction down, 6 halves just becomes 3 over 1, if you want to think about it like that. I'm going to leave my x where she was, okay? This is one set of parentheses, and I'm going to go ahead and write that. 3x plus 1. There's one set of parentheses. I'm halfway there. Let's do our other side. 6 over negative 9. If you reduce that fraction down, you'll end up having 2 over negative 3. Now notice that when you type that in the calculator and you do math, enter to convert that to a simpler fraction, you're gonna get like negative 2 over 3. I always tell you to leave everything where it was. So the negative was at the bottom before, so it stays at the bottom, and the x was at the top, so she stays at the top as well. This tells you your other set of parentheses. So since that one was 3x over 1, that's why we said 3x plus 1. And this one is 2x over negative 3. So we're going to write that as 2x, well, there's a negative 3 on the bottom, so minus 3. And again, as you can see, that's the exact same thing as we got when we did guess and check, all right? This way can be more defined and definite, okay? That's the only thing about star that I personally like. It's quick. Once you get the hang of it, and it's more exact. Whereas the guess and check, it's not as much to remember, not as much to draw out and stuff, but it just takes a little bit longer. It's ultimately your choice. So please let me know if you have any questions about converting from standard to intercept form. Really, all it is factoring, okay? So anyway, thanks for watching, and let me know if you have any questions. Goodbye.